Hey guys, welcome to Overcrest. I'm Chris, and I have a turbo episode for you today. Turbo. And I'm trying hard now. I do. Well, for someone that's your stature, you'd think you would have learned to stand up straight now at some point in your life. Yes, you do. You have, everybody slouches. Yeah, well, okay. Anyway, so I have something for you to try. We've been waiting on this for a week. I think we should play the clip first, and then go from there. Let's get the clip up. Share. Are we going? We are. All right. Are you ready for this? All right.
This is a very new.
And our internet. Our internet took a shit immediately. All right, let's see if this works.
It's a very
Come on! This is
a very what?
All right. Well, let's let this. We'll see if this loads.
It's gonna buffer? I doubt it.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
on?
What am I?
This is a very new.
Very new thing.
What internet am I connected to? I'm connected to our internet that we pay for on a monthly basis. Let me refresh.
Good.
Let me refresh this and see. Oh, there we go. Here we go.
This is a very new.
No.
Okay, this is a very new
what?
fragrance by Faberge. All right,
Yeah.
let me stop the sharing. It's not working. I had the thing up. Oh wait, now it works. Hold on.
You don't even need the video.
We do need the video. I think that's what it is. I think it doesn't like the sharing.
The video share.
Yeah, the video sharing. We'll just let
Turn it on.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy.
Turn it on. That guy. He looks a lot like me. You see that? He looks a lot
It
like me.
delivers.
How do you figure?
Well, just look at him. Hold on. Look at him.
Uh-huh.
Let's stop sharing quick.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I
Minus
have
the glasses and the beard and totally different hair.
yeah.
and
Well,
facial
I mean, it's the
structure.
same. It's the same.
Totally
thing.
the same.
It's
Yes.
totally the same thing. So we have here. We have some of this. I
We
bought
have
it.
You found it.
I bought it on the internet,
I'm so excited.
and I have not smelled it yet at all.
I am so
Turbo.
excited.
By Faberge right there,
This I feel
and my
like,
wife smelled it.
Okay, what did she say?
She says it smells exactly like you think it would and should.
Oh, I am excited.
Okay,
for
and
this.
I gave it to my daughter,
Uh-huh.
and she had the same reaction on her face as when I had her also drink beer one time. So,
Which okay, that's promising.
So what I'm gonna do
Uh-huh.
is I'm gonna put a little of this on,
No.
and then I'm gonna come over by you and like give you a hug, okay? And you can tell me what you think, okay?
Oh my goodness. Now, does it have a spray? Oh no, it's
this
just
is old
straight
school.
up
This is
bottle.
old school.
She's pungent.
So I just do this, right?
Yeah, you're supposed to give her a little dab
A
or
little dabberoni.
yeah. I
Little-
feel like
Another little
This-
dabberoni.
do we know what
Maybe
year this
another-
was from?
Maybe another dabberoni.
Oh, you better. Yeah.
Maybe another dabberoni.
Yes, I think
Yeah,
more
yeah,
is
I
always
think-
better.
Always better. All right, so we have 4 dabs of the turbo. This is
Is this here's my question. Is this period correct to my 944 turbo?
it. Yes.
Because I feel like it needs to live in my 944 turbo, and or I should just
To be
put
clear,
it all over the interior.
This was like $50
okay, well,
because it was new old
I
stock
would
in the
probably
box.
buy it from you.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna come over there and give you a hug.
Oh my goodness, I don't think I want it.
There it is.
Oh, it's very musky.
It is very musky. What do you think? Are you? Do I?
It's
Has
very.
your perception of me changed?
It doesn't fit you.
No.
No, I'm trying to think who it.
I don't know if
fits.
that's if I should be insulted by that or not.
I don't. It's. I'm trying to. All right, give me the bottle here.
Okay, here.
Oh. Okay, let's see if I can somehow describe it. You know, like sommeliers, the wine tasters. How they're
Yes,
like
you're going to
really
be the
good.
sommelier for cologne.
Yes. Okay. Oh, this is a very strong cologne.
I shouldn't have put on 4 dabs of it. I'll tell you that right
Faberge
now.
of Canada.
Faberge.
Out of
What else does Faberge make?
Ontario. Well, you think of Faberge eggs.
Yeah, but I think they make more than that.
What? I don't even know how to compare it to something. It just smells like a very generic.
It's not the same company, you dipshit. Faberge that makes the eggs and Faberge are not the same.
Okay, so who is this? It's like a generic department store cologne.
They make Brut as well. Brut cologne.
Okay, yep.
Which is...
I can't stop smelling it, though, for some reason. It reminds me of cologne that my grandfather used to wear, I think.
Yeah, it's a little more musky than Old Spice. Old Spice has got a little bit of a fruitiness to it.
Wow. It's
Overcrest, a pretty good cologne podcast.
I think that's going to be burned in my nostrils now, but
I think you should take it home, and I think you should try it out on Nikki and see what she thinks. So I'm going to be wearing it when I go home.
Obviously.
And
yeah.
So this is something that I imagined. You ever go through the best part about going through old Playboys?
Yeah.
Is the ads.
Oh yeah.
And some of the cartoons are pretty funny too, and some of like the things that definitely peg the period of time.
I thought you were going somewhere else.
Well, I was going to say like
that.
Like you can look at I feel like the whole arch of the period of time with adult magazines can be defined as the bush, right? Like you could open it up and have your eyes closed and page to a model and be like, it looks like 1986 to me. Slightly trimmed, but not too out of control like the 70s stuff is. Anything in the 90s, you get in the landing strip, and then pretty soon there's just nothing there at all. So it's like this whole evolution of hair. But another thing you can tell the cars.
Yes.
So like seeing the old car ads is really, really cool.
Yep.
Cologne. Stereos.
Ooh.
Like seeing like how we used to have like cool stereos and all of a sudden everything was particle board stereos. You can see that. Also electric razors.
Oh, I suppose.
Like basically any man stuff.
Yeah.
And you could also get earlier on,
yeah,
especially if you get to some of like I don't know what they're called, but there's like a magazine called Men.
Okay.
That's what it is. And there's always like a story of a man just doing something manly in it, like rescuing a damsel or surviving something.
Wrestling an alligator.
Yeah, wrestling it. Yes. Yeah. Dude, did you see this movie called Cocaine Bear?
Of course I have.
Have you seen the movie?
I haven't seen it yet.
It apparently is a true story.
We've talked about this story.
We did not. We did not. I saw the preview and it says, based on a true story.
So do you want to know how based on a true story it is?
Yes.
Okay, so there was a
high stink, Jake.
You really do. It's distracting.
In a good
for
way.
whatever reason, there was a
good
kilo
way.
of cocaine that got dropped in the middle of the woods, and a bear did consume it and then immediately died.
Oh.
Because its heart exploded. But there was always kind of the running joke of but for those 5 minutes, he was the most dangerous apex predator on the planet.
In the world, yeah.
Just a coked up bear.
Well, that makes the...
So the movie is just what would have happened if the bear had survived?
Yeah. Right. Well, I might have to watch it.
It's meant to be funny and over the
Sharknado
top.
funny.
Yes.
I have not seen Sharknado either.
I have not.
I feel like I'm too... You know what movie I watched yesterday?
Tell me.
Was a movie called In Time. Have you seen In Time with Justin Timberlake?
Yeah. That was an interesting premise.
It gets 30% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, it didn't do well.
But I think it's a great movie.
It's interesting. I've seen it a couple times.
It is a great movie because it is in my wheelhouse of my my ethos of time matters and how you spend your time is valuable.
Sure. And it's like a dystopian future. It is. Well, yeah, I love that too.
Speaking of which,
yes,
my book.
Your book is out.
My book should be out by the time this podcast comes out. It should be out.
I saw it's on Audible.
It is
on Audible. I tried to download it this morning and then realized I don't have Nikki's Audible password.
Okay.
So
you should sign up for Audible on your own, buy a copy, and then Nikki should also buy a copy.
Oh, I see.
You guys should both leave reviews.
I got it. Yes.
And that would be awesome. But hey, guys, I wrote a novel.
That's amazing.
I wasn't planning on talking about this. As soon as you said dystopia, I'm like, oh yeah, that's me.
Yes, obviously.
I wrote a dystopian. It's kind of like a dystopian. You've read the book, Jake. Would you describe it? I think it's kind of like a dystopian Western. It's kind of got I like some themes of Western themes.
Or that description of it, yes.
Yeah.
It's not how I would have described it, but I do like that classification.
Yes. It's available now on Amazon and Audible. You can go and buy it. I would really it would just, even if you fucking hate books, should go buy the book and just support me.
Don't even read it.
I just need like this like slow, like even if every single person I knew bought the book, it really wouldn't be enough.
No.
Right? It needs to go beyond the ecosystem of people I know. But it helps the algorithm. It helps it like kind of get out the gate. If people go buy the book, leave a review for the book, would be absolutely incredible.
It's surprisingly good.
Thanks, Jake.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. I don't know if that's
my
an
review.
insult
It's
or not.
surprisingly good.
Surprisingly good.
It is part of a series, and so I'm going to start hounding you about
You're
where
going
the
to kill
rest
me
of the books
if I don't.
are.
I'm on like chapter 3
Okay.
of book 2.
Yes.
So the book is called The Penrose Triangle. And if you know like what the Penrose stuff is, because there's like Penrose Stairway too, which is like the infinite stairway.
Yeah. So who was Penrose?
I have no idea who Penrose is,
Oh,
but I
okay.
know like the Penrose
No,
Triangle.
you're thinking of there's a different dude with the stairway.
No, you're thinking of MC Escher.
Yes.
But there is something called the Penrose Stairway.
Okay.
If you've seen Inception, in the movie, they have a Penrose
You're right.
stairway
Yeah,
where they basically trick the guy into like running up the stairs, and then all of a sudden Gordon Lewitt is behind him. And he's like, well, he's like, ha ha, fucking secret stairway, you know, and then he pushes him off the edge. Basically, it's like an infinite loop.
Yes.
It's an optical illusion of an impossible object that is an infinite loop upon itself. That's what the book is called, The Penrose Triangle. You can Google it on, you can just put it into Google for all I care. But if you go on Amazon, Audible, it's right there. I would love your help. Truly, I do think it is a good story.
Surprisingly so.
God damn it, Jake. That's so not nice.
It is.
I wrote for magazines and stuff forever.
No, I know. So like I had like an expectation and you exceeded.
I exceeded the expectation of a magazine writer writing a book.
Yeah.
I appreciate that very much. I poured my heart and soul into it. If you guys could help me out. And one thing that I thought about a lot when I was reading the book is the thought of someone going and spending their money on the book.
Yeah.
Whatever, $20 or whatever it is, that's no big deal. You know, if someone gives me $20, I don't care.
Okay.
Truly. What I care about is that they're giving me their time to put themselves in the story and experience the characters and give me however many hours it takes them to read the book.
Right, because you have to
listen
dedicate
to the book.
yourself to reading it.
I valued that. I got about halfway through the book. And I was kind of writing this chapter. I'm like, I got to make this book a little bit longer. You know, I ended up making it. It's a great length. It's not like audiobook's almost 10 hours long. It's like 300 pages. It's like a perfect book.
It's a good
in terms of size. It's not like the stand where you hold it in your hand. You're like, holy fuck, I'm going to use this to hold my door open.
Well, by the time 3.
And my book also doesn't have any Deus Ex Machina characters. Like, like in the stand where God comes in at the end.
Yeah, no,
that doesn't.
And then the white horse arrived.
Yeah, no, none of that. Anyway, I really respected people's times, and I wrote the book in such a way that none of it is wasted.
Yeah,
none of the story is pointless or wasted. It's all meat. It's all content. It's I wouldn't say it's wide open throttle all the time.
No,
because it does go in waves, but everything that's done is important. Anyway, the Penrose Triangle. I value your time, and if I didn't think it was good, I wouldn't tell you to go get it and spend your time reading it.
Yes.
Penrose Triangle, Audible, Amazon. Go check it out. What were we talking about?
I don't know.
Pubic hair. That's what we were talking about.
Good.
Before I got
Okay,
into
let's move right along then.
Yeah, let's keep going.
We have Chris's latest Mercedes is running.
It is running.
Jake started his car on fire and himself a little bit.
Okay.
We have voicemails.
Let's do a voicemail.
And we have news. No, before we get into any of it, Chris.
Wait, what?
I want to introduce our new latest sponsor.
Who is it?
It is Automotive Anonymous. And speaking of old, vintage, cool things, Automotive Anonymous.
Hopefully he smells better than that cologne.
Yes. Well, what started out as a personal collector of motorsport goods has turned into an amazing curated store of vintage automotive posters and collectibles. Being a Porsche enthusiast, Automotive Anonymous has hundreds of products from not only Porsche, but all sorts of awesome old motorsports decor. All the posters featured on the site are original, with many extremely rare pieces, and the unique enamel pins are all limited editions.
I have some of those.
Yeah. Inventory is updated every month with vintage motorsport apparel, books, models, and other collectibles coming soon. So check them out at autoanon.com or on Instagram at Automotive Anonymous. I was chatting with the owner last week, and one thing I love is kind of the deep research he puts into valuing these rare posters.
Sure.
So many of these things are worth like a ton of money, but he isn't trying to gouge anyone. His pricing is generally less than whatever the last sale was of one of these.
Sure.
So it's all fair,
Yep.
and it's really cool stuff. There's so many things as I was scrolling through there. Again, autoanon.com.
Anon.
Anon.
It's not anon. It's anon. Like auto anon.
Anonymous.
Yeah, but it's anon.
Anon.
Don't say anon. That makes you sound like an a-hole. Say anon.
AUTOANON.com.
Anon. Yeah, auto anon.
Check
Yeah.
it out. Some really cool old motorsport posters that
I'm just trying to make you not sound dumb, Jake. I'm trying to help you out. Yeah, but that's wrong. Trust me.
Enunciating.
When you say anon, that's like it's an internet term. It's like like saying it would be like saying GIF instead of GIF.
Which, by the way, the originator of the
doesn't
file
matter.
format did say it's GIF.
I know, but it doesn't matter. It's GIF. Everybody says GIF. So if you say GIF, you look like a dipshit. Or people that say meme. Hey, did you get that meme?
Well, that's just
okay.
wrong. That's just wrong.
Of course it is. So is saying anon. It's anon.
Okay, auto
There you
anon.
go. I'm only going to correct you this time.
Thank you.
Because in the future
Yes.
you're gonna do it right.
Anyways, check them out. Have you looked? There's some really cool posters.
Yeah,
that I
I'm
think
gonna as we did this
will
ad.
like.
Hopefully, I can get a few pictures and I'll have put them up so people can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
in the feed. You'll be able to see it on YouTube and Spotify.
Yes, it's very cool. All right, let's go to
Since I ruined that, throw the links out one more time at the very end here so people can. look it up.
autoanon.com.
There you go.
And he's on Instagram as well at Automotive Anonymous.
And it'll always be in the show notes.
Correct.
If you want to check it out.
All right.
Okay. My Mercedes is running.
The latest.
The latest.
Mercedes.
The W116 280S is running. Now, here's the question.
Red and no longer dead.
Red, not dead. Did you think it would run?
You seem to have a pretty good track record, so yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
But
I should.
feel like it was pretty painless.
It was.
Like it was really easy.
It was really easy.
Like, it just
was
started.
easier. It just
Right? Like
so.
you didn't do anything. It just started.
So the first thing I did is I went up and I looked in the
Fuel,
Fuel
sender.
sender.
Yeah, to take a
which
look at
was
the gas.
underneath the
I know.
first aid kit.
Which who knew the first aid kit was there even?
Well, I
no
did.
one. Obviously,
I knew the
because
first
it's
aid
never
kit
been
was
open.
It's never been open. All the first aid stuff is still there. It's
very
like
cool.
jammed in there. But and that's I don't know if that's like a German requirement, like a German Department of Transportation requirement, because Audis have
You're
them too.
right. Did
And so do BMWs.
Volkswagens didn't have it, so it's probably just like a
I don't know. My Golf R came with a first aid kit.
yeah.
and
But
a
at what
roadside kit.
time I guess was that?
I think it might be a thing. Hold on, I'm gonna look real quick.
Okay, and we'll get into my story too. It is I could have used that first aid kit.
All right, first aid kit required, Germany. The road traffic licensing regulations, the STVZO, state that Germany, every car must have a first aid kit, also known as the first aid kit or Red Cross kit. It is compulsory
Wow.
in Germany.
Interesting.
Yes, that way you can give Band-Aids to somebody that was
because
just in
there's
a car
nothing
accident.
That
So I have like an actual first aid kit that I bring with me on the rally.
yeah, I do too.
Mainly for myself, but I suppose that I would use it on others if necessary.
Yes.
And everybody should have something like this. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, you're driving around, especially if you're spirited or whatever,
Mhm.
if you have a passenger or for any reason whatsoever, if you're camping, you should always have a first aid kit. Maybe we should talk a little bit about that at some point. But I have, I have sutures.
I have several
I have
different
tourniquets.
types of sutures. I have cauterizing pen.
Yep.
I have lidocaine.
I have that powder that you pour in wounds.
Yep. Fast clot.
Coagulant.
Mhm.
This is all stuff that,
Yeah, I will
what do you
say.
want,
Nikki,
what do you want to do? You want to sit there and watch someone bleed to death?
Yeah, no. Nikki,
You want to try and get your iPhone charging cord out and use that as a tourniquet?
you could.
Come on, that's not ideal. I'm just saying.
Nikki definitely
prepared.
tailored my kit to myself because I cut myself a lot.
Yes, you do, and burn yourself a
I
lot,
do, yes.
which we'll get into in a minute. I suspect. Okay, so I open up the fuel sender.
Yep.
Popped it open, looked in there. Wow, there's no sediment in there.
Right.
And then I'm like smelling it.
It
I can't
actually smells like gas. Well,
smells better than I
smells
smell.
better than the Faberge
Yeah.
Turbo.
Jesus. Yeah, dude, I reek.
Oh,
I'm gonna get some weird looks if I go to the store. I smell like 1984,
yeah, you really do.
which is kind of cool.
I guess.
I got the plaid on and everything, and I
Yes.
got the beard.
I'm definitely gonna put this in the 944 Turbo.
Yeah, you're gonna like sprinkle it
Oh,
around.
yeah.
So I asked Jess if I should accidentally spill it on you, and And she said no, because it will ruin your clothes. Like, it doesn't, like,
You don't think it would come out?
I don't know.
Well, it would ruin my day, that's for sure.
Well, I'm not opposed to that. I don't give a shit about your day. So, okay, so the gas smells like gas-ish. Usually you open a tank and it smells like just pure varnish.
I'm thinking of gas now, and I'm curious. No.
So it smells like varnish, which is just like a really alcohol-y, not gas smell. It just smells like varnish.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever smelled like wood varnish, it does smell like that. So if your gas smells like varnish, don't use it because it will not burn.
Correct. Not well.
Not well, especially if you mix it with other gas, it can be okay. So, but it's really
someone. Well, Kris said it won't burn, so I'm going to use it to douse this fire.
Yeah, I know. So I drained all that fuel out, and it was orange.
Yeah.
So I think that someone had put like 2 or 3 jugs of stable in there.
Sure. That's why it still smells okay.
That's why it was nice, because it has not been driven since probably 2015.
Makes sense.
2016. So it's had gas in it for like 7 years, somewhere between 6 and 8 years. It's had gas in it. That is, I'm not a big stable guy. When spring comes or when winter comes, I just drain the fuel. I just get rid of it. I don't keep fuel in the lawnmower.
Yeah.
I let it run until it's out of gas. Just no gas, just none.
Okay.
Empty the bowls, just get rid of all of the gas. Same thing with leaf blowers, everything.
Cars.
Same.
What, you just let it idle until it's out of gas?
Yes. Well, of course, I drain the tank out into like a jug, and then I let the float bowls run out. I just drain all the fuel over, and then I take the top of the float bowl off, and I leave it open. I like crack it open, so it's just nothing. It's just
dry.
I don't want to deal with it, especially with ethanol fuel, right?
Yeah,
it just collects water. That leads me to a question.
Yes,
there's always this thing of like, if you're going to store a car, do you fill the tank all the way up or leave it empty?
Glad you asked.
Tell me.
It's either one. So the danger is moisture contamination in the fuel, right?
Right.
So if
what is actually happening?
What's happening?
Why is it attracting water?
Because of the alcohol, the ethanol in it.
Okay.
Right. So alcohol.
So is it the evaporative?
You can mix water with alcohol, right? And it mixes into a thing.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas like an oil base, it won't. So this new ethanol heavy fuel will attract moisture, right?
Okay.
Moisture will basically mix in with the fuel
and then separate.
And that makes it bad, right? It won't burn if it's part water.
Right.
So what you do is if your tank is full, then there's not a lot of air that can get in there, right? And it can't mix. If your tank is completely empty.
This is assuming your gas tank is
actually airtight.
Airtight,
right? Which
with your charcoal canister still hooked up with everything.
Yes.
Good. The first good sign I had was when I took the gas cap off.
Yeah.
I flipped it over and it was shiny. Because usually you flip it over and that little metal tab right there that clicks.
Yeah. So
is rusted.
Long story short, the worst thing you could do is have a half tank of fuel, because then you have like a
lot of water
or air that can mix moisture in. So
this had a third of a tank. So not ideal.
No, not ideal, but having stable in it does somehow prevent that, which
did help.
We should
help
get
it out.
into
Okay, so I pump all this out. It's in a jug. So what I'll probably do is once this car is running, I'll just add this stable fuel back in, like a gallon or 2 at a time.
Just run it in your mower or something.
I like my mower. I don't want to run it in my mower. Maybe I could. I guess it probably could. Anyway, so I'll just run it through over the course of time. I can't put it in the Golf R. There's no way. No, that's just that's a detonation problem just waiting to happen.
Correct.
So I jump all the fuel. I had 7 gallons in it. I put another 5 gallons of fresh fuel. Okay. And I'm on an incline.
Yeah.
So it's a mechanical pump. So all the fuel kind of came up there anyway. So I didn't have to crank forever and ever and ever.
Yep.
I literally get in. I have the coil unplugged.
Okay.
And I turn it over a bunch to get oil pressure.
You want to get oil
I don't want it to go with no oil pressure.
No, that'd be bad news.
So I to get oil pressure up. When I don't have an instrument cluster.
There's no gauge.
There's no gauge.
You do have apparently a tube going into the dashboard, though.
Yeah.
So you can just like put your thumb on that and be like, yeah, there's pressure there now.
There is no question when a Mercedes has oil pressure, because it is physical oil comes up and pushes on a diaphragm, which moves the needle.
That's so weird.
That
just seems like it's more propensity to like leak. Right?
Not any more than a sender would, really. Maybe.
I don't know.
It's mechanically pretty sound. I
guess it's just weird that you're running oil.
It's dumb,
all the way
especially
out.
if you have the instrument cluster out and you're like, oh, I got to try and start. And you squirt yourself with hot oil. It comes like just jetting out of there at 80 psi or whatever it is. Anyway, so I put like a vacuum line on that and a screw and with a little clamp.
Okay.
You know, so that's how I didn't get oil.
So it can just bleed right up the threads.
It's in there. It's like a long bolt, like really long. And I took it and I just drove the screw into the hose because I just didn't want any oil leaking out. So I get in.
Plug the coil back in.
Plug the coil back in, get in. First turn of the key. Oh,
wow.
Just like
right away.
Turned on, idled, perfect. Like, I mean, it needs a valve adjustment.
Sure.
It's a little clattery. It needs a valve adjustment. But holy shit. And here's what's interesting about this motor, too. This motor is actually technically better than the one I'm even putting in the white car. It's a European delivery car.
Okay.
So it has higher compression.
Really?
It doesn't have a like the same like emissions requirements. It's got different, I think it has different camshafts. All these different things.
So, okay, that's interesting with European delivery. My understanding is you buy a car and you go over there and you can drive it around and then they'll deliver it. Right.
Or what a lot of servicemen would do if you were in the Army.
Yeah.
Is you would just go and you would buy the car and then you can,
when you're done with your tour, ship it back. Right. So my question is though, like nowadays, if you go to BMW and do a European delivery, it's not like they're going to give you the European version of the car
because they're the same now.
Okay.
The cars are essentially the same.
My question is, do you know for a fact that this is the European spec motor?
I believe it is. Well, if it's a European delivery car, yes, it is. However, I wasn't sure until I started slumming through the manual.
Yeah, but it has US DOT headlights and stuff.
It has to be federalized when it comes to port.
Okay.
So that happens at port.
Interesting.
Or maybe they do it before it leaves. But all that stuff has to get put on.
Right.
You know, plus you could also take delivery of the car in there, and they probably put all the stuff on it before you even leave. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how it works. I'm not sure.
No, that's interesting. Okay.
But the crash standards and stuff like that, I think, are what did you in. You know, the bumpers and the headlights and everything.
So it ran great.
Ran great. However, if you touch the gas while you're trying to drive,
yes.
If you try to get anywhere off of the secondaries, so it's a 4-barrel carburetor.
Yeah.
What is it? Secondary is a primary.
Primary is what you're primarily using.
Okay, and then the secondaries is the wide open.
Second.
Okay. So your primary is what it runs on.
Yep, your 2 barrels.
Great. So if you roll into it very softly, very carefully, you can drive around. But as soon as you get into those secondaries, it's dead. The carb is dead. There's nothing. Right. It needs to be rebuilt.
Think you need to understand how that works better, because I was watching your story and you're like, well, this linkage isn't doing anything.
So I think what happens with that linkage is when the car is under vacuum, that is something that is used to slow down the actuation of those.
It pulls the flat back closed.
No, it does not.
No,
it does not. It makes it so it doesn't open too fast.
Oh, it's like
what it does. It's a dampener. Sure,
dampener
is what that is. So that's a dampener. No, some people have no idea what we're talking about.
No, I know.
But so the way that it works is when you open those secondaries, there's a flap above it that opens with the vacuum.
Right, it's just vacuum operated.
Yep. So that opens up and then it pulls these valves up and allows fuel to go.
Correct.
Yep. So the 4-barrel carburetor is quite a bit more fuel efficient than a 2-barrel.
Okay.
Because you have your primary and then you have your secondary.
Right,
so when you're just driving around. Yeah, so if you're just tootling around, you're not using the big side of the carburetor. You're only using a little one. Right. Versus with a 2-barrel, you have to use both for the same purpose.
They make progressive 2-barrels too. Weber DGV that I had on my turbocharged Mini, or not Mini,
MG.
Yeah.
So, but generally, this is the case. Anyway, so it just runs.
That's awesome.
So
now what? What's next?
I took the carb off and I took it over to Dave Cheney.
Yep. Carburetor Dave.
He's a genius with carbs.
Yep.
He fixed your Zeniths up pretty good, got those going, does performance tuning for Zeniths. Hey, if you got a 911, you need Webers or Zeniths done,
he's your guy.
This is your guy. You got pretty much anything he can figure it out. But I know he loves working on Zeniths. Yep. So I dropped the carburetor off with him. I said, work your magic, because he's got like an ultrasonic cleaner and like he'll replate everything. And it'll come back looking like brand freaking new.
Colin convinced me to get an ultrasonic cleaner just for the nuts and bolts and putting this motor together. It is really nice.
Is it?
Yeah.
What do you? How is this like? Can you put a dirty bolt in there? What? Just dirty.
Just straight up dirt.
Where's the dirt go? Does it?
It just sits in the bottom, so you have to clean it every once in a while.
How much is this thing? I
got the small one. It's made for like jewelry, but it's great for just like little 10 mil bolts and stuff. Yeah. I was like, I don't know, $120.
Maybe I'll have to do that. I have so much hardware.
Yep. And then I'm like, probably shouldn't be mixing chemicals, but I'm like, ooh, what about this solvent and then this solvent? So like, what about mineral spirits and ATF
Wow,
fluid?
this smells like Turbo by Faberge.
Yes, exactly. And then, it heats it up, so it's almost boiling, and then it vibrates it, and it's great. Anyways.
So yeah, I drove it around the block, and once I understood that I couldn't get into the secondaries, I was able to accelerate, and it shifts great.
Wow.
The brakes are super spongy.
Well,
the suspension is a little soft, but I didn't really get to experience it beyond driving around the block, so I don't know. So I put the European headlights on
right away
yesterday. That was right away. Jesse did one while I did the other. That's how fast I wanted it. And then Irene put the Pentas on.
Yep. The wheels.
Yeah, but awesome. I haven't shown anybody that yet.
That's
because it's not lowered.
Right.
I don't want anybody to see it until
can't judge.
Until I thought the springs were going to be the same springs that are on like my white car, or the W123.
Okay,
but they're not. They're smaller. What's interesting, and I'm wondering if they're the same size. And I wanted to get your opinion on this.
Okay,
see what you think. So my W201, which was the gold car,
the newer diesel, gold.
I bought Eibach lowering springs for that.
You did.
Never put them on.
Okay.
They look like they are the same size as the red car.
The spring rate is probably way different because it's a lighter car.
It's probably not a lighter car. They're both very heavy. So I thought about like taking the spring. So how do you calculate spring rate?
Well, with Eibach, it's just written right on the coil.
Yeah, but let's say I want to calculate the spring rate of...
Well, then you do math. You measure the length, and then you put a given weight on it, and you see the amount of deflection, and then you do the math.
Yeah, you want to try and get it to droop an inch or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't have any way to do that. So
I was just going to...
If
you have a ruler, and you know how much you weigh, you can do it.
Yeah, but I don't weigh enough to like...
There will be some deflection. A quarter inch is all you need to do it.
Well, maybe we'll try. But I thought maybe I would set them next to each other.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth a try. Is if they're the same width, which I don't even know if they are right now.
Yeah.
Right now, is to just put it in there and just see what happens.
Yeah,
maybe it'll be awesome.
It'll be super tall.
They're lowering springs.
I know.
So maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll try.
Sure,
I think I'm going to
give it a shot. Why the heck?
I think I'm going to give it a shot. No.
Yeah, do it.
You don't like.
Worst
the plan?
case, you cut those coils then.
Yeah, well, worst case, I cut the original coils that came with the car. And what's cool about the Mercedes stuff is it's a linear spring. It's not progressive.
Right, so you can actually cut them safely.
You can cut them and
don't overheat them. That's the danger.
Yeah, you have to be careful.
Everyone scoffs at cutting coils, and it's actually not a bad thing.
What happens? We'll see how smart you are. What happens when I cut a coil off that spring? What happens to my spring rate?
Well, here's where things get interesting.
Yes.
You're going to say that the spring rate increases and it actually stiffens up.
It does.
It does, but the reason it does that is because you just have less spring in there.
Right.
So by definition, it's not able to deflect as much, but it's not like you're increasing spring rate by the actual physics.
The actual spring rate isn't
correct.
More. The spring rate over the distance is more.
Spring rate is different. The actual spring rate, you didn't change anything with the spring itself. But if you heat the spring up in cutting, like a lot of people would do with torches or something, that's where it's dangerous. Because now your metal is no longer has springiness. There's some term for that.
Yeah, it fatigues it.
Yes, and so that's
I use I'll sit there with like my little thing, and I use like cutting oil.
Yep. Or just like a
damp
rag holding the next coil down will be good enough.
Yep, absolutely. Or maybe I can just try having someone hold a hose on it while I cut it.
Why?
Water cooling.
Which I needed.
Just tell me why you needed.
As I'm pointing my finger at you.
Oh my God, dude!
That's just the one finger.
You're all fucked up, aren't you?
And then it's there, and it's just if you're watching, you too can see Jake's injuries. So I am like totally done with the 944 firewall. If you remember, in order to put that diesel motor in, the dude literally cut a hole in the firewall for the starter. It's a totally different starter location, right?
Yes.
So in the tunnel. So what I did then is I took.
Would you like me to come weld it up for you?
It's done. No, it looks great. You can't even tell it's there.
I don't believe you.
Great.
Send me pictures.
I didn't take pictures before because the welds didn't look great. But now that they're ground down.
Now that you're a grinder, you're all set?
Yes.
Okay.
A grinder and paint make me the welder I ain't, Chris.
Yes,
Believe you me. No, but it looks pretty good. Colin even said, I'm sorry I doubted you. This looks great.
Really?
Because he saw it before, and it did not look great.
Can I tell you, before you get into what, I just want to tell one more story, and then you can continue on.
You can.
Okay. So I'm supposed to be working on the Trooper.
Yeah, you are.
And I was like,
oh my God, I know this story. Dude.
And I'm just like, I'm going to work on it today. So, and it's Friday and it's 2:00. I need to get to the welding supply store.
You need welding gas because
I need welding gas.
Leave your gas on.
Always leave the gas on. So it was,
which is why now you made your daughter write a sign on the door.
That's my sign. I wrote gas
it looks
off.
like your daughter's handwriting.
Yeah, I'm not. My handwriting's not great.
Okay. Anyway,
when I sign a book, you'll see it. So I drive over to the welding supply store. Yep. I've got the welding tank in the back, and I'm on the phone the whole time talking about Overcrest stuff, like meeting Crest or whatever we call Overcrest now. It's talking on the phone with somebody, driving over there. Get out, grab the tank, put it on the loading dock, go in, talk to the guy. And I'm really distracted by this really pretty secretary that's just like wandering around, not doing anything, just like wandering here, wandering there, in the door, out the door. Yeah. And I'm doing this for like 25 minutes because their credit card machine is broken. So I'm talking to this guy that I don't know about his 8 kids. And he's like, oh, you got daughters? I'm like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, just like all this stuff we're talking about. Right? And he's like, okay, let me go check the tank. He goes out, checks the tank. Good, got you, got you a new tank. So great, come back in. Credit card machine's still broken. But they were able to change out all of the rugs.
Wait, what day was this?
Friday.
Okay. There was some this very
massive thing.
Yeah, there was some big thing about credit card machines not working.
Anyways. Well, maybe that's what it was. So I'm talking to this guy. Finally, he's like, oh, it worked. You're good. You know, it's like the longest is my car going to get declined experience in my entire life, which is every time I go buy something, I'm like,
don't you check your bank account?
Sometimes.
I like to live dangerously.
Okay, so typically, no. But over the last couple of months, yes. And what I have found in terms of mistakes by not only me, but by vendors and fraud has been like, oh my God. I have found.
Oh, yeah, you got to audit your.
I went back to 2020. I have found $2,500 in fraud and mistakes. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's like free money.
If you can get it back.
If I can get it back. That's the question. Well, one of them was on a credit card that I don't use, and it went until it maxed the credit card out. So I have to call them, just be like, guys. So hopefully I get that. Get this stuff figured out. Anyway, beside the point. So I'm up there. Finally, I'm like, whew, okay, credit card didn't get declined. Embarrassing after I just spent 20 minutes with this guy talking about our kids. I go out, grab the tank, throw it in the car, drive home. Get out of the car, put the tank in the house, do nothing for a while, grab the tank, go out in the garage, start fiddling around, get the mount lined up kind of where I think I need it to be, go to hook up the regulator, and I go, what fucking idiot left this valve open?
So right away you knew it was empty.
I knew right away that something was wrong.
Yeah.
I'm like, this valve is physically empty. It's open. Yeah. So that means it's
either it was
empty.
Leaking out the whole way home.
Or I would have had a car full of argon. Yeah. Like, I don't know how healthy that would be.
Not great.
Not great, but I made out. But I made it. So then I go, what the hell? And then I'm holding the cap in my hand, which is black. And I go, the cap of mine was black too. And then I go, and I kind of turn it a little bit, and I look at it. And before I had walked in, I didn't know what to tell the guy. I need a can of argon, whatever the number was.
It's 2575, yeah.
Okay, 2575. I need argon 2575. So I before I went in, I had looked at the label, looked at it. So then at home, I turn it and I look at it, and the label's like curled on the corner, exactly like the one that I had taken.
What are the odds, Chris? What are the odds?
What are the odds? I brought home the same tank that I had taken there to exchange.
After paying for it.
Waiting
like
However,
an hour.
They are serial numbered. So I'm hoping that I could go in and be like, hey.
I don't even think you need the serial number. You just be like, hey, I'm an idiot. And you'll be like, no one would admit that.
Yeah, that's probably true. Fine. Yeah, you can only get away with that once anyway. So that's my story of why I almost did nothing the entire weekend. Although I did put the valve springs and the valve stem seals into the 280, which I'm really proud of myself because I'd never taken apart a cylinder head before with valve springs, take the retainers off, pressurize the combustion chamber. I've always been scared, and I'm still scared because I haven't put it all the way back together yet. But I feel pretty good that I got all the valve springs and the heavy-duty valve springs for that thing. It's all in.
Are they double?
Yes. Yes, they were double from the factory because it's a Mercedes, not some shitbox other car. You know, it's a Mercedes.
It should be able to rev out then.
It did rev out.
Yeah,
I mean, they rev out to about 7.
Yeah, which is impressive.
which is great for 1960 something.
Correct.
So this now it should be able to rev out to, I'm going to guess 7,200.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No,
Okay.
that's okay.
Back to your.
So,
back to you.
yeah, welding.
I just wanted to tell this embarrassing story and allow you to laugh
That's
at
very
me.
embarrassing.
Because I get to laugh at you all the time because you do stupid shit constantly.
Yes.
Now it's your turn. You get
there
to
you
laugh
go.
at me
Done.
a little bit.
Yes. So welding in this patch panel, I'm like done. I did some grinding, and then after grinding, it's like, oh, that wasn't
So did
penetrated.
you lap weld this or butt weld
No,
this?
it
or
was,
what did you do?
yeah, it was butt welding. So
Okay.
it's done right.
Yep.
But then like after grinding everything clean, I was like, oh, there's a little part where it didn't penetrate, so I go back and do it. And I didn't have any help, right? So it's just me on one side of the panel, and the inside
car,
is
or-
I'm on the outside of the car, the engine bay, right? And so I was like, oh, well, I do not want to start anything on fire in the interior.
Yeah.
So what I did is I FaceTimed myself on my iPad, and I put my phone inside, and I'm welding, and I have the iPad here, and so
Honestly,
We're good.
pretty genius.
we're good. And I was like,
I like
I should take a picture of this process. But with what? I'm using both devices, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, all good. And then I get the iPad done, and I grind down that little bit, and I go, there's one more little piece here that I want to touch up. It'll be fine. All right, good. Love it. I'm like prepping it to put some primer on, and I'm like, it's really smoky in here. Was it this smoky before, like as I was grinding? And then I look up, and I see like the rain tray is smoking. And
Okay.
I'm like, oh no, that's not good. I open the door because the cabin was closed. I open the car door, and out billows smoke. I'm like, crap, this whole car is going to start on fire and start my house on fire. So I had a wet rag, and I like dive in under the footwell, and I can see flames creeping up on the top of that firewall. Ironically, the firewall. So I open the car door.
First of all, you sound great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you sound really good.
Thank you.
The crap that was happening just before.
You don't know that. You don't know that. Technical difficulty. Back to the story. So I open the car door, out billows clouds of like noxious black smoke. And I'm like, holy crap, how far on fire is this thing? And so I duck under the footwell, and I had a wet rag, and I see just flickering flames, and I shove my hand up there. So what had happened is there's that foam back, like basically insulation.
Why wouldn't you pull back everything?
I did. I pulled it back like 6-inch margin everywhere that I could.
Okay.
But this is so tucked up the dash, like behind the HVAC tubing and everything else up there. So it shouldn't have been that high. But somehow it caught, and I was able to douse it, luckily. And there was no wiring up in that area. So nothing was badly burned. Is damaged, luckily. Right. Except for my finger, which, because as I was rooting around up in there in the flames, I like touched a bunch of hot metal and burned my fingers and cut myself.
Well, I'm glad you didn't burn your entire
Bad
garage
news,
down.
bears. Yes, I am too. So that's done. Motor is almost ready to be put back in.
What do you mean by
the
almost
road.
ready to be put? Like actually?
But actually, yeah.
I feel like if I had a car that was cool, I could have driven it today. It's pretty nice out, and the roads are pretty clear.
Are we at that point now?
We're almost there. The problem is that you have the puddles,
Right.
that are still, and the water is that's streaming across the road.
Yeah,
You don't want to drive through that because that's just like
it's salt
rusty,
water.
briny salt water.
I know.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but in the next couple of weeks, it should be motor in at least.
Okay.
I'm worried about tracking down like wiring gremlins and stuff at that point, but at least it'll be
So
back
what kind of fuse
together.
box does this thing have? Because when I think of late 80s.
Yep.
What year is this?
87.
Okay, so late 80s VAG, Volkswagen Auto Group.
Yep.
I think of a Central Electric Golf fuse box. Do you know what that is?
No, I don't.
So you had Central Electric 1,
Okay.
which is like Rabbit, and early Mark II.
Okay.
This is minutia here.
I'm
right?
getting that.
Some people will appreciate it.
Okay.
And all the wires are, you know how like if you have like a female spade terminal, it has like a little tab that sticks up and it clicks into place in the fuse box?
Yeah.
The whole fuse box is that way. There's no plugs Okay, so in the back of the fuse box is just this like fucking hellfire of wires that just goes into the back.
Yes.
And you can't disconnect everything. You have to use a little screwdriver, do the detents on the pins, and then pull the wire out.
One by
on Central Electric 2, it's all plugs.
Yes.
So you have like modular plugs.
Yes.
Like this is headlights, this is engine harness, this is like, and you go book and you just unplug them. And it's really easy to deal with. And it makes motor swaps much easier because you have a lot more control over what's going on.
Right.
That was the father of like modern fuse boxes. Everything's modular now. They're different colors. You unplug them.
Yeah. Truth be told, I don't know. I haven't taken the fuse box off yet because what I got with this motor is the entire correct wiring harness. It does go to a plug. So yeah, it has to be plugged.
It's like a big bundle.
Yep, it's a big bundle with a big plug thing.
So what fuse box do you have in the car?
It is still the original fuse box. However, there was some wires being cut, etc. So that I haven't taken the actual entire fuse block out to look at what's underneath. So in theory, it shouldn't be difficult.
In theory, you should be able to just run that harness through the firewall and plug it in, and the car should run.
Right.
I'm praying for you, my friend.
Thank you.
I hope that is
also,
what
though, there's like a lot of chip tuning involved in this. There's both a DME, which is like the engine management system, and also a KLR, which is this advanced in 1987 knock detection unit. It's separate from the ECU.
Yes.
Right. And so it will pull boost, pull timing, everything else.
It pulls boost.
Yeah. It controls boost as well.
Sure. That would be crazy for the time.
It does because there is a boost controller, digital boost controller in it.
Cool.
So anyway, that I need to get the correct chips burned for that.
Okay.
Because this is not a fully stock setup either.
Speaking of chip tuning and just fuck news, I mean, I'm going to tell you. I'll talk about the Trooper a little bit, but should we do a voicemail?
Let's hear voicemails.
Let's do it now that it's closed, and this is an Obama phone, so I don't really always understand how to use it.
Technical difficulty number 2.
They don't even know about number 1.
Yeah, actually, you called it out.
If they have ears, they probably were able to figure it out. Okay, so that is this one. Let's take a listen to this voicemail.
Hey guys, it's Pickle again. I've always dreamed of having
a
barn
I can't hear.
Hold on.
Hey guys, it's Pickle again. I've always dreamed of having a barn or some sort of workshop so that I could buy all the shit boxes my heart desires. But what's your opinion on how many project cars is too many project cars? Is it 5? Is it 10? What's the line when you cross over from enthusiast to hoarder? And what are the downsides and upsides of having that kind of a space? Thanks.
What are the upsides of being a hoarder?
Well, it's all relative, isn't it?
Okay, so
this is obviously prompted from a conversation we were having this morning on the Discord.
On the Discord, if you want to join the Discord,
which you should.
You should.
Yes.
I'll leave a link to the Discord in the show notes if you want to do that. I'll try to remember to leave a link. So I have to leave a link for Autoanon, and I have to leave a link for Discord, and Drivers Club will all be in the show notes.
Love it.
As well as Petrol Box.
This week.
Not this week. Petrol Box will be in the show notes next week.
Yes.
Is what I meant to say. Okay,
well, Friday.
Hoarding.
Yes. We have 2 episodes a week. You guys.
I'm struggling with this right now. We can roll right into the Trooper. Okay, so I have the Golf R, not a project. I have Trooper, project. 911, pretty much a project. Shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah.
White Mercedes, red Mercedes. That is 4.
Hold on. Trooper, 911, 2 Mercedes. Yeah, okay.
That's 4 projects.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
911 maybe doesn't classify as a project anymore. But that is, and I can tell you right now, as a guy who pretty much does all his own work, it isn't just the amount of work on the cars that has to be done. Mm-hmm. It is the organization of parts. It is, where the fuck am I going to put this? Where does this go?
Right.
Where is this thing that I just
Specialty
had?
Tools.
And then you go, is it this thing for this car? Or what is this part? I don't even know what this part is.
Yep.
I have no idea. Is there a stamping on it somewhere so I can find out if it's made in Japan or in Zuffenhausen? Like, what the fuck is this? I don't have a clue. So I think truly the most amount of projects.
Okay, so we're just talking projects. Okay.
Because there's a huge difference between projects and cars. 2. I think 2 projects is the most amount of projects that you can that you can have
Uh-huh.
based on an average hobbyist with an average shop
Sure.
garage.
What if?
Now, if you had a barn,
Yeah.
look at you.
Yeah.
If you had a barn,
Right.
I would say,
Because you can have projects that are just waiting.
Jake, have you ever
It's like inventory. This is project back inventory.
have you heard of the psychology of a human being and how many people they can actually know?
Yes, like how many like friends you can actually keep.
You can actually like what your brain can actually handle
Uh-huh.
is limited.
Sure.
You can only know a certain amount of people, and I feel like your brain like deletes people
Oh yeah.
like that. It just
That's
you
the
haven't talked
knowledge
to them
train,
a while,
right? You're
and
scooping
they
up
just-
new knowledge and you got to throw it
they're
out the
just gone.
caboose.
They just get deleted.
Yep.
I think that car projects are kind of the same way.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, I can tell you right now that if you don't work on a project for like a year,
I was just gonna get there.
about a year, you forget where you were.
Yep.
You forget what you're doing.
Yep.
You don't remember what needs to be done. And it doesn't seem like it would be, but it seems like you just bought someone else's project and there it is. And
Right.
you've got to figure it out. But the only person you have to talk to is you via some sort of like hypnosis of,
Case in point, I still have that Harley, that hardtail chopper in my basement.
yeah.
I have no idea what I did to that thing.
I think probably 4 or 5 is the most amount of projects that anybody should have. I also think in terms of hoarding, anything beyond that is hoarding because you're never going to get to that stuff. You just aren't. You're not. Come on. Unless you're like, okay, let me say this nicely. Unless you're me, who has time to like just go out in the garage whenever they want and just work all day,
Right.
or if you're Mike from Stance Works
Yeah.
and it's your fucking career,
Yeah.
then you can go out there and you can wrench all the time.
Right. And it's like, well, then you need a project because you're going to be done with this project soon.
Right. Like the amount of work that I did on that Mercedes to get it running before the rally
Yeah.
would take a lot of people like a year or two.
Yeah.
But I was out there 15 hours a day
Yeah.
for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But most people are like, I can just work on it
'Cause
when I
that
get
wasn't
home,
fun,
work on
was
the
it?
weekends. It was really high pressure.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily fun. I don't even remember. I was working so hard. It wasn't even time to have fun or not fun.
Right.
You know, it was just, just do it. But most people don't do that. So they're working at night.
Okay. So 4.
So my
projects.
day, one of
Wait,
my
2
days,
projects or 4 projects?
I think 4 at the most.
You
If
said
you have a
2.
barn.
You said 2.
If you have a barn, you can have 4.
Oh, okay.
Because then you can stay organized. Having 4 projects in the space
Because
that
then
I've got,
you can have
is too
you can
much.
have that car's corner.
Yeah,
And
it's-
maybe you
it's-
have like pallet racking and the parts for that.
and there's
car
certain
go there.
things that you can do. You can take notes. I think is important. Like
Yeah, I
taking
really should
notes
do
of what
that.
you're doing,
Mhm.
and you can definitely be detailed about things like that. And I think that real shops do that,
Oh yeah.
especially guys that restore cars,
Right, because you want
over long periods
documentation.
of time. They keep detailed notes of what they're doing. I
Yeah.
am not a detailed note taking guy. Anyway, what I was saying is, so let's say I'm working 12 hours on a car.
Okay.
I've got that to do, and I've done that maybe 3 times that week. Let's say it's even 8 hours I've been out in the garage. So let's even make it even easier.
Okay.
Let's say I was out there for 20 hours. Now I'm often out in the garage for 20 hours a week.
Okay.
Often.
I thought you meant like in a certain spell or like a specific, like at a time, 20 hours. I was like,
No. I'm just saying
He doesn't
overall,
sleep,
like
ladies and
over the
gentlemen.
period of time. For the regular person to do that,
yeah.
they would have to engulf their entire weekend
Oh yeah.
and then a couple weeknights.
Yep.
It just isn't going to happen.
Right.
Don't fool yourself.
Yeah. That's why I
Right, you
just now
just-
finished putting this firewall together.
You are making yourself suffer because you're not going to be able to emotionally finish the projects that you're working on.
Mhm.
And physically finish the projects you work on.
But
And you become acutely aware of this as you get older.
sure. Oh yeah. Because
Like
you're like, oh, I'm not going to get to that.
I'm not going to get to that. And I think a lot of people, that's why you see a lot of unfinished projects being sold by 68-year-old, 72-year-old guys.
What if you have several running projects that you can run and drive as is, but there are still things you want to do? Case
I
in
think-
point, like the C10. Like, that's not an active project, but there are things that I still want to do, right?
I think that the most amount of cars that you should ever really have at one time is like 5 or 6 cars. Because you can't drive them all.
I
You
know.
can't. You just can't. You
I
can't give
know.
them all the attention that they deserve. You're only one guy. You just can't.
Does that include spouse daily?
I'm talking about like enthusiast cars.
Okay.
Like the cars that you don't drive every day.
Yeah.
I think 5 or 6 cars is
Yeah, that's a lot.
a lot of cars.
That's a lot of cars.
It's a lot of cars. It's a
Most
lot of
people
different
aren't going to have that
experiences.
problem.
I have that problem. Right now I have 4. And the Trooper is, I would have gotten a lot farther if I wouldn't have brought home the same welding tank that I took to the stupid ass place.
that's
But I got an email that my wiring harness will be completed this week. I sent, so it was.
We don't know about this.
It's correct. So either I make a wiring harness myself,
Right.
and lengthen all these different things
Yep.
to like fit the motor
Yep.
with the car and all this stuff, and eliminate all the things that need to be eliminated, like the EGR valve and all these
Yep.
different deletes. Like you can delete all kinds of shit. You can delete the glow plugs if you want to. I'm not. But
Right.
You can. You can, because if you're driving in the summer,
Yeah.
you don't need glow plugs. You can just really simplify
Yep.
and
I
boil
didn't
the
run glow
down.
plugs on my TDI motor.
Okay. Where is that motor? Is it gone?
Gone.
You
Long
sold
gone.
it? Yeah, okay. That's too bad. I would have bought it. No, I wouldn't have. I would have wanted it for free. Because you hated it.
Yeah.
I would have tried to manipulate you into giving it to
Yeah.
me.
No, I did better
Anyway,
than that.
so I this company, they were not super responsive to like podcasts, and so I won't even mention their name. But they sent me information on and it was like this list of like a million things you could do or not do in the harness, plus tuning for, I think it was $1,000.
Okay.
So I have a harness now that is lengthened. I measured. It's lengthened in the places I need it lengthened. It's got all new wires,
Yeah.
all new plugs.
Okay.
So the ECU connector is the same, but it's all been depinned and has all the right pin outs for only the things
Sure.
that I need.
Right. Simplified.
Yep, simplified. It has a digital analog TAC converter.
Yep.
It's got it has everything I would need for this to work. It's got a little plug on it that I can use a GM cruise control switch.
Oh, cool.
So you run that into the car and you get
Yeah.
like from some like, I don't know, some like Celica, or not a Celica, that's a Toyota.
That is.
It's some shitbox. What am I thinking? A Caprice?
Sure.
Okay, so you
I
got like a
guess.
little Caprice.
Haven't made
cruise
those in a long
control
time,
thing.
but yes.
Yeah, they have. I'm just trying to think of shitboxes that would have cruise control. So it's like on, off, resume, cancel.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you
Perfect.
got. So I'm going to have cruise control on it.
That's cool.
Like all these different things, but it's going to be like this beautiful, nice
OEM looking.
OEM harness, all new wiring, new plugs, and I'm going to be able to go boink, 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 and just plug it all
You
in.
said tuning. So are they sending you a different ECU as well?
I have to have a different ECU. Well, they tune the ECU. You send them the ECU. and then they
Okay, I
tune it
suppose
for you.
because to turn different things off, you
Yeah,
can't
I'm
just
like
not plug it in.
stage, I don't know, 3 or 4 or something like that. I have different injectors, different injection pump, and different turbo.
You do have different turbo.
I do.
Okay.
I have my turbo is bigger than yours on your 951.
I doubt that.
It is.
What is
Colin
it?
even said so, and we all rely
Colin
on
said
Colin
so?
for facts.
Damn it.
Yeah, he said it's bigger.
What is it? Do you know what it is?
I don't.
Okay.
I have no idea. It is big enough and everything's solid enough that I should have. I'm kind of at the cusp of needing to do like
Bottom
more,
end, yeah.
more, but I should have like 180, 200 horsepower and around 300 pound-feet of torque,
Okay.
which is, we all
Pretty
know
good.
that torque was what matters,
Yes,
right?
yes.
From our episode that we did the other
Correct.
day. More than enough.
Yes.
More than enough. And this thing has like a 22-gallon tank, and it should get good 35, 40 miles per
Wow.
gallon. So
Really,
being
with
able to-
that aerodynamicness, not lack thereof?
well, normally you would get like, if you put it in a Rabbit, you would get 50.
True. Okay.
Okay, so I'm trying to be somewhat conservative
Yeah.
in that.
That's really good.
I'm super jazzed. So now the thing is I got to weld up the motor mount in its place.
Right.
I have to pull the motor out.
Why?
I have to notch the firewall because the water neck for the
Oh.
cylinder head is up against the firewall, and I can't have it touching the firewall because that would be,
Can you modify
Less
the neck?
no, it's plastic.
Hmm.
I'd rather just notch the firewall out. Just basically go and then get like a piece of steel and then like have it follow the line and then just inset the
Mhm.
firewall like half an inch.
Mhm.
I think would be plenty. So I got to pull the motor out again, and then I'm going to weld up the mounts in the. Everything's kind of solid, but I want to do a better job welding the mounts in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Once the motor's out, I can crawl in there
Right.
and get into places that I.
So
couldn't
these
get
aren't
before.
adapter mounts. They don't bolt to the factory mounts, and then so you're completely new mount. Yes.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
completely new.
That's right. Because
Everything.
the other mounts were way far.
The motor mounts are hydraulic. I got hydraulic mounts.
Oh, so
Because
less vibration.
Yeah, less vibration. It's
That's
from
nice.
like a Ford Explorer or
Sure.
something like that.
Okay.
Just like a just a stud on the top, stud on the bottom.
Yep.
Pancake.
Yep.
Sandwich mount. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of, once the wiring harness gets here and once I have welding gas, I'm kind of excited. I keep saying I am not excited about that project.
You know what is going to be exciting is you can then weld with the garage doors open.
I know,
it
dude.
should finally be spring here.
I know. It's so bad for morale.
It
It truly is.
is. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's it. That's all I got. That's
Do we
everything that's
want to
going
do
on.
any news? We have
Yeah,
some news.
I don't want to do any news.
Do you
I
want me
wanna
to
do news.
read you the titles? Ford Mustang is a cool feature.
Nope.
Electric G-Wagon.
Nope.
New Lamborghini's out.
I saw the new Lamborghini ad for this Lamborghini.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we should try and watch it.
Oh, there's like a
video.
Is it weird again?
No, it's fucking awesome.
Okay.
It's like a really good ad. Yeah, let me find it quick.
Okay. I'll tell you about it while you do that. So Lamborghini revealed on Wednesday the replacement for its top-of-the-line Aventador. The new V12 Lambo features the name Revolto. Revolto, yes, Revolto, which disappointingly does not follow the tradition of using Spanish fighting bulls names. Instead, simply means unruly in Spanish. The Revolto, or the Unruly, couples an all-new 6.5-liter V12 with a trio of electric motors, which result in a combined output of 1,000 horsepower. 2 electric motors power the front wheels independently, while the third electric motor is integrated with the transmission, driving the rear wheels. This third motor can work independently or with the engine, allowing for an electric-only mode.